Credentials are: I have 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I teach international relations and internal security and also the analysis of Hindu newspaper. And this session will definitely help you to crack prelims and mains examinations. I keep on emphasizing that it is very important that I would be focusing on the keywords and the key phrases, which will be very useful for you to identify the factual, analytical, and conceptual questions. So definitely we would be focusing on the key words and the key phrases, which we will be focusing from the newspaper to identify the factual, analytical, and also conceptual questions for the prelims point of view. So definitely you will be having an edge in the prelims from other candidates. And in regards to the mains examinations, definitely it will be very useful that I will make you understand that what is the importance of inculcating or imbibing the keywords and the key phrases in your answer writing, that is for the mains examination. So definitely as prelims is important, even mains is also very important to get very close to the next stage, that is to the interview. And for that, what is important for the mains examination is that you need to have, or you need to get into the mode of practicing that your answers would be or should be precise and concise, and your answers would be precise and concise for the mains examinations only when you inculcate or imbibe the keywords and the key phrases in your answers. So thereby UPSC or even the state public service commissions will definitely look at you that your answers are very precise and concise what is being asked by the examiner, that is the board, that is UPSC or state services. So definitely you will score more marks or the higher marks in the mains examination, and this session will definitely help you for both the prelims and mains for 2020 as well as 2021. And today's session is in regards to the daily news analysis, that is DNA. Today 17th of the Hindu newspaper. And I reiterate once again, I re-emphasize once again my tagline, that is emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases. I would be doing this. This is my tagline, which wherein we will be having an edge over others in regards to the prelims and mains examinations. And before I get into the topic, I would say very good morning to everyone who is in the live and also in the live chat. Very good morning to everyone. Very good morning to David Paul, Rahul, Praveen Kumar, Aswini, Ravi Kumar, Ravali, Azmat. Very good morning to you. Shravani, very good morning to you all. And today's quote of the day. So definitely I will be coming up, as I said yesterday, the quote of the day is the successful warrior. The successful warrior is the average man. Please do understand here. The quote says the successful warrior is the average man, but with a laser-like focus. So what is important is focus. So definitely when you have the focus, you will be a successful person. That is what it says, the quote. The successful warrior is the average man, the one who is average, but with a laser like focus, that is very focused. And this is what I liked it for the quote of the day. And now we'll get into the topic. And before I get into the topic, once again I would say Madhu, Harika, Ravinder, Venu, Kumar, very good morning to you. And then today's news talks about coronavirus. Number of COVID-19 cases has crossed 1 million. So definitely there is a cause of concern for India, which is the second largest population in the world, that it is reaching, or it has crossed 1 million mark. 1 million mark after 175 days. So we have crossed 1 million mark. That is the cases, infected cases of the COVID-19 disease. We have crossed 1 million mark, and this has happened in a span of 175 days. This has happened in the span of 175 days, and definitely we know that with this, in India we have seen the first case on Jan 30 2020, that too in Kerala. So the first case which was registered in Kerala in India, which was on Jan 30 2020, and after Jan 30 2020, that is after 175 days, we have reached, that is India has reached the infected SARS-CoV-2 virus infected cases have crossed 1 million mark, and India is the third. and India is the third highest number in regards to the confirmed cases, wherein India is third, second is US, and then first is Brazil. So this is very, very important, that in regards to the highest number of confirmed cases in the world is first Brazil, second is US, third is India. And in regards to the overall death cases, we are India is standing at the eighth number. India is standing at the eighth number. This we need to understand. Why? Because we need to focus on regards to the prelims point of view, how the question might be asked. How the question might be asked. Because the first case which was registered in India was Jan 30. That if you look at in Wuhan, that is Wuhan district of Hubei province of China. It was on the 31st December 2019. 31st December 2019. So this is what you say basic prelims prelims factual information. That is why I say factual, analytical, conceptual questions will identify from the keywords and the key phrases. So from the keyword, that is 1 million mark is a keyword here, and from this what we are identifying is the first case in India which was registered in India was January 30, 2020, that is in Kerala. But if you look at the Wuhan, that is Wuhan district of Hubei province of China, 31st December 2019. That is why it is COVID-19. That is why it is, the disease is COVID-19. Coronavirus disease, COV is coronavirus, D is disease, 19 is the year of the disease. So definitely we have looked at India in regards to death cases, it is 8th, and in regards to the highest number of cases, it is third. First is Brazil, second is US, third is India. And after 175 days, India has reached or crossed the 1 million mark of infected cases in India. And then if you look at the statewide, if you look at within India, that is Maharashtra is definitely the top. Maharashtra is top, and then Tamil Nadu. Maharashtra is top. So Maharashtra is with 8,641 cases, and then registered new cases, that is Tamil Nadu with 4,549. So definitely what is important is at this moment Maharashtra is the one which is the top in India, and Tamil Nadu. It was earlier Maharashtra, Delhi and Tamil Nadu. Now it is Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. Delhi is slowly, reducing the cases. But now Tamil Nadu is increasing very high. And if you look at Karnataka, you have seen in Karnataka highest ever spike. Highest in the spike in the sense increase of the infected cases and the death cases. If you look at the Karnataka stands at fourth highest in the country in regards to the infected cases and in regards to the death cases. So if you look at slowly South India is emerging. If you look at, there are reports also that South India will definitely emerge as the highest spike of the SARS-CoV-2 cases in India. The next is, slowly it is happening. If you look at Tamil Nadu, if you look at Karnataka, if you look at, yes, Telangana is also going ahead, Kerala is also there. No doubt Kerala is, in a position to tackle it very, very effectively. But if you look at South India is definitely going ahead with the, or will go ahead with the spike in the sense increase of number of cases. And if you look at the other side, that is in regards to the test rates, that is testing of the SARS-CoV-2. If you look at that, AP is having the highest test rates. That is the test for the COVID-19 patients or SARS-CoV-2 virus. AP is the top, and then the lowest is AP is the top, and the lowest is Uttar Pradesh, So we need to know that what is this highest test rate. So testing of these patients. So this is the keyword here, testing. So we will look at the keywords here. Highest ever spike, this is a keyword. Please do understand, I am making it very clear. We will look at today the keywords which are very, very important for the prelims point of view. So highest ever spike, that means increase of the infected cases and the death cases. This is in regards to the highest test rates, that is in regards to the number of tests being conducted, diagnostic test kits. which have been conducted is Andhra Pradesh stands top. That is 22,812 tests among a million people. So definitely tests are being conducted per million people. Per million people. Number of tests conducted by per million people. And then UP is only 5,473. Andhra Pradesh is 22,812. So definitely number is not important, but the number of tests being done per million people. This is important. Million people is important. Yeah, Telangana is also low, but when compared to the India, when we compare with India, UP is the less. When we compare it with India, UP, if we compare with AP and Telangana, definitely Telangana is very low. Very well. I mean, absolutely, Ravali. So please do identify the keywords here. Highest ever spike is the keyword, and then highest test rates. And the other one is doubling rate. So we have looked at spike rate. Please do understand spike rate. And then what was the other one we have looked at? That is in regards to the test rates. So these are the keywords. Please do understand, which are very, very important. And the third one, what we are looking at is doubling rate. Doubling rate. So what is a doubling rate? That means the number of cases. If it is x, x plus 2. If it is x and x plus 2. And what is the duration between this x and x plus 2? Now it is 21 days. This is called as doubling rate. Doubling rate of the number of infected cases from x time, from time period of A to the time period of B. I mean, we are taking some time period, some date. A is some date, B is some date. Fine. That is number of cases. If it is x, doubling of it, x plus 2, 2x, or else you can take it as 2x, 2x. So 2x, doubling of the number of cases from one day to another date is 21 days. This is very important. Doubling rate in India is 21 days. Why I am saying is, these are all very important keywords for the prelims point of view. For the prelims point of view. And third one is that. And the fourth one, what we are looking at the recovery keyword is the recovery rate. What is recovery rate? That means the number of patients who have been infected and the number of patients who have been again tested, treated, and then they have recovered. Number of patients who have been infected, tested, treated, and recovered is 63 percentage, 0.4 percentage. This is very good. This is very good, highest. The recovery rate is very good in India. And the fifth keyword is cumulative test positivity rate. Cumulative test positivity rate. So definitely if you look at the entire India, what is the positive? I mean, when you are going ahead with the test, number of positive cases, number of negative cases. So number of positive cases is 8 percentage, 8 percentage. Fine. And the other keyword is average death, average death, average death cases. Average death cases in India is 568 per day. Per day. So average death case per day in India is as of now 568, which is very high to most of the countries. But India, if you look at these average death cases, which is topping, Brazil is at first, and then US, and then Mexico, and then we have, what do you say, India now. So Brazil is, what do you say, 1057 cases or death cases per day. US is 695, Mexico is 587, and then India is 568. So this is very, very important. All these keywords, that is spike rate, test rate, doubling rate, recovery rate, and then in regards to the cumulative test positive rate, and then average death cases. So these are very, very, very important for, see, you please do not worry about the number, the statistics. The statistics keeps on changing. Please don't worry about it. 8 percentage, 63.4 percentage, 21 days. It keeps on changing. What is important is, where is that mentioned about the Rahul fifth keyword? Where did I mention that? Okay, okay, you're talking about it. Okay, so fine. This is fifth keyword is Rahul, cumulative test positivity rate. That means overall. Cumulative means what? Overall. So overall, what we are looking at, the test which are being conducted. test on the patients, test on the patients. So positivity rate, so who have been after the test who have been diagnosed as positive, that is the rate. So the one will be positive or negative, fine. So the one who have been tested and who have been positive, so that is called as the cumulative test positivity rate. Are you getting it? Okay, fine. So what is important is, please do not look at what you say facts as of now, because it will be keep on changing. But what is important is keywords. You please do try to get into the mode of identifying the keywords. Keywords are important because the data, statistics, percentage keeps on changing. So you please do not get worried about the data, but you need to worried about the keywords what are used in the COVID-19 situation. In the COVID-19 situation. So what are the keywords here? What we have looked at, just for summarizing: spike rate, test rate, doubling rate, recovery rate, cumulative test positivity rate, and the average death cases. So these are the keywords which you need to focus while you are preparing for prelims point of view. And then Madhu, Harika, Ravinder, Venu Kumar, Vasanta, Ram, Sonu, Ravali, Sonu, and then yeah, Prakash. Very good morning to you. And then Ashwini says doubling is 2x. Yeah, I did it. I did change it. Not x plus 2. I said 2x. I did change it. It is 2x. It is 2x. 2x is doubling. And then what is meaning? Okay, fine. Explain it again. Okay, really, it is 8%. Yeah, it's simple, that is. Yeah, but what is Ashwin said, suppose 100 are being tested, so 8 percentage of it, 8 percentage of it, so it will be 8 number, 8 percentage. So total number of recovery rate is 63 percentage, and India's cumulative means overall. Ravili, I think you are getting it. Overall complete in India test who are been positive, who are been infected, affected or infected by the SARS-CoV-2. And then before I get into the next topic, Anil, Papani, Anjanelu, Sivamurthy, very good morning to you all. And then the next topic is that, as we have discussed, that Iran has dropped India's plan or India's investment in the railway project. I did discuss yesterday, fine. And then Rahul was asking, sir, what is the response from India? Day before yesterday, 2 days back, couple of days back, Rahul was asking in the class, sir, what is the response from the government of India? Then I said, as of now, the response is not been, taken up. So now the response has come from the government of India. So government of India says, we have not received any response from Iran. Since when? Since December 2019 for the future of Chabahar Zahedan railway project. So what we are talking about, Chabahar and then Zahedan railway project, which the Iran has dropped it. Absolutely, Ravinder Naik. 8%. 8%. That is what I am saying. You do not consider the number or you do not consider the facts. What is important is CTP is important. Cumulative test positive rate is important, because that keeps on changing. Absolutely. What you are asking is, Ravinder, absolutely right. 100 members, right? Absolutely. But do not get hooked up. Do not get, stuck to the facts number, because that keeps on changing. What you need to know is the cumulative test positivity rate. That will you please keep it in mind. Fine. So in regards to this, coming back to this, yes, no response. What the government of India has said is, it has reacted to the Iran's dropping India's plan or project, that is Chabahar Zahedan railway project. So this keyword here, Chabahar Zahedan railway project, this keyword please do understand. Fine. And then not only that, what the government of India, that is from the Ministry of External Affairs, has said, not only in regards to the Chabahar Zahedan railway project, but we have also gone ahead with we have moved out of, India has moved out of the another project called as Farzad B gas field. So India has also invested, that is OVL. OVL is what? ONGC's arm, ONGC, that is ONGC Videsh Limited. ONGC Videsh Limited, one of that is ONGC foreign arm of ONGC Videsh Limited, is also invested, has also invested in the exploration, that is gas exploration project, that is Farzad B gas field. So what is important for today's Mahesh, I'm very sorry Mahesh. Mahesh, very good morning to you, but I'm extremely sorry I cannot teach or explain in English, Telugu. I'm extremely sorry. So what is important from today's news is that we need to understand the two keywords, that is Chabahar Zaidan railway project and then Farzad B gas field, wherein India has responded that now we are moving away from the Chabahar Zaidan railway project because there was no response. India says that there was no response from Iran since December 2019. Why, we will look at, and what the government has stated. Government in the sense, what the government of India has said is that Iran has gone ahead with taking its decision because of its policy changes, because of Iran's foreign policy change. Why? Because I've explained on that day also. The one thing is Iran's economy is been badly hit because of the COVID-19 pandemic situation, and the other one was US economic sanctions. I did say these points. Again, I'm repeating. So definitely because of the COVID-19 pandemic situation and because of the US economic sanctions onto the Iran, both these has impacted the Iran's economy, and thereby because of the impact on the Iran's economy, what the government of India says is Iran has gone ahead with change in its foreign policy, in Iran's foreign policy. So that is nothing to do with India. What that is what Indian government, that is the Ministry of External Affairs, says that there is nothing to do with India. What the problem is, Iran did not respond to India since December 2019 in regards to the Chabahar Zaidan railway project. And then because why it is going ahead like that, because of the pandemic situation, that is COVID-19 pandemic situation, and then US economic sanctions on it has created or has forced Iran to change its foreign policy. So now the government of India has come up with giving a response. Now government of India has given the response, and then this is Chabahar port. Please do understand, this is Chabahar port. From this place to this place, Zedhan. This is the railway project. Railway project. Fine. And this is in Gulf of Oman. Gulf of Oman. It is in Arabian Sea. Please do understand. You might get a prelims questions. Okay, what is that? Bharat, okay, very good morning to you, Bharat. Prithvi says, sir, if Iran itself constructs the rail, so why then can India access the route for trade, sir? Sir, if Iran itself constructs the railway, okay, railway, then can India access the route for trade, sir? Yes, yes, yes. So definitely, now what is happening is, in this China is investing. China is investing. Definitely it will be. Definitely it will be. Because as I've said that China having trade and investment partnership. Trade and investment partnership between Iran and China. 3 days back I've explained this. So definitely China is investing, and later on, depending upon as Prithvi Raj has asked, depending upon India and Iran's bilateral relations, depending upon India and Iran's bilateral relations, it depends whether this can be used, whether Iran will give access to India. Prithvi, I think you got the point. And definitely, see, based on the bilateral relations, I particularly feel that it will be later on, what you say, adjusted, or it will be, the relation will smoothen later on. And all this foreign policy of any country to any other country is dynamic. Dynamic in the sense, it keeps on changing. It is not static. It is not static. It is not, what do you say, once for all. It keeps on changing. So definitely later on, I think it will be changed. Lokesh says, why, what may be the reason? Why don't you explain in Telugu? Lokesh, I've told you so many times, please do not force me to explain in Telugu. At least, please do understand. Please do not force and please do understand, Lokesh. I've told n number of times that I cannot explain. That is my fault. Please do understand. I'm making it very clear. Please do not repeat the questions once again. Is China, and then Rahul says, is China reason for changing its policy? Absolutely, absolutely, no doubt about it, Rahul. No doubt about it. It is China's geopolitical expansion. Geopolitical expansion. No doubt about it. And what we have looked at also this Chabahar Zaydan railway project on that. I mean, previous day also I've said this. This is of 628 kilometers from Chabahar to Zaydan. And then I've said this railway project was actually between Ircon and Iranian Railway. Ircon is Indian Railway Construction Limited, and then Iranian Railway, which was signed in, I've said this also, in 2016 when our Prime Minister Narendra Modi has visited, when our Prime Minister Narendra Modi has visited Iran, they have gone ahead with India, I mean Modi versus, I mean Modi and Rouhani, 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 the president of Iran, have signed the deal in 2016. Fine. So definitely what India has said that it is China, sorry, it is Iran which hasn't really responded since 2019, because it was, the details were discussed on the 19th India-Iran. The details about the Chabahar Zaydan railway project were discussed in 19th India-Iran Joint Commission. So this is very important. So there was a joint commission. There is a joint commission between India and Iran, that is in regards to the discussing in regards to the feasibility of technicality and financial issues. Please do understand. The India-Iran Joint Commission has discussed in regards to the technical and financial issues about Chabahar Zaydan railway project. But when we have discussed in December 2019, that is what the Government of India Ministry of External Affairs says, that we have discussed, but there was no response from Iran. And then it says this is still awaited. India is still awaiting for the response. And what is the response? What we got? Iran has dropped India. Iran has dropped India from investing or construction of the Chabahar Zaydan project. Are you getting the point? What is important is India-Iran Joint Commission, which has discussed about the technical and financial issues in December 2019, but still not we have got any answer, and we are still awaiting from the for response from the Iran. And as I said that not only Zaydan, Chabahar and then Zaydan railway project, I said India is also out of Farzad. Farzad B gas fields. These are gas fields. I mean exploration of gas field, wherein which Indian company ONGC, which is part of OVL. OVL is ONGC Videsh Limited. Videsh Limited. ONGC Videsh Limited, and ONGC have signed an exploration in 2012. So in regards to the Chabahar and then Zaydan railway project 2016, and then in regards to Farzad B gas field 2002. This is very important for prelims. Farzad B between India and Iran was signed in the year 2002, and then in regards to Chabahar Zaydan railway project signed in the year 2016 between India and Iran for with the 100 million US dollars. So definitely in regards to the Chabahar Zaydan, it was 1.6 billion, and then definitely we are also going ahead with Chabahar investment in the Chabahar port. I said this is the Chabahar port. So we are also going in with the investment in the port construction. India is also going ahead with the port construction in the Chabahar port in the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. Chabahar port is at the Gulf of Oman in the Arabian Sea. In the Arabian Sea. Why I am saying all this is geography map based questions. In which among the following Gulf is Chabahar port situated? It is situated in Gulf of Oman in Arabian Sea. In Arabian Sea. Fine. So we have also gone ahead with Chabahar port construction, and then we have gone ahead with operation of one terminal in the port, wherein there would be handling of 82 ships and 12 lakh tons of bulk cargo, which will be coming into the Chabahar port. And India has gone ahead with investments in the Chabahar port, even though, as I said, even though earlier I said Iran was under US economic sanctions, and there was lot of pressure by US on India that India should not invest in Iran, especially Chabahar port. Please do understand, this is the, what do you say, conceptual, analytical explanation what I am giving. In spite of US, because US has pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal. I said 2018 US has pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal, and 2015 there was Iran nuclear deal. When who was the US president? Barack Obama was the US president in 2015, and then there was Iran nuclear deal. But in 2018 US has pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal, and who was the president? Donald Trump was the president in 2018. So after Donald Trump pulling out of Iran nuclear deal, US has imposed economic sanctions on Iran, and then US was imposing lot of pressure on India not to invest in Iran. But still India had maintained very good relations since long time with Iran. But now the situation is going at a different, because now China is attracting, or Iran has attracted China in regards to the billions of investments in Iran. So now definitely the entire geopolitical situation is changing. Geopolitical situation is changing. And Rahul, I think you asked it. Yes, because of the geopolitical situation, China is now investing in Iran. So for geography map based, you need to know where is Chabahar port, and then this is Farzad B. Farzad B. So this is in the Persian Gulf. This is in the Persian Gulf. This is in the Persian Gulf, wherein Farzad B, ONGC has gone ahead with investing in the Farzad B exploration oil exploration. So this is in the Persian Gulf. Please do understand. And Chabahar port is at the Gulf of Oman. As I have shown you, Gulf of Oman, Chabahar port. Fine. And this is Strait of Hormuz. Strait of Hormuz. These are all very important for geography. This is strait, Strait Strait of Hormuz, Hormuz. So this strait in the sense a narrow passage. Strait is narrow passage, water passage, narrow water passage. It is water passage, not land, water passage. Narrow water passing, Strait of Hormuz. This point is called as Strait of Hormuz, and this is Persian Gulf. These are all very important for geography map based. And then now before I get into the next topic, I would just read the questions. RS Studio has joined. Good morning. If you possible, explain Telugu. Thank you. Okay, that is what I'm saying repeatedly. I cannot, what you say, justify when I'm explaining in Telugu. That is my problem. That is not your problem. That is my problem. That I cannot justify. That is why I cannot get into Telugu. It seems all the bilateral relations between India and Iran are going to be end right, or not really, but situation will. That is what I'm saying. Geopolitical, strategic geopolitical situation is changing. It is changing, and that is what is important. Okay, here what is important is India's role. Now, India's role in Persian Gulf countries and West Asian countries, or India's friendly role. India's friendly role in Persian Gulf countries and West Asian countries, or the importance of India's role in Persian Gulf countries and West Asian countries post COVID-19 pandemic situation. Discuss for mains point of view. Very good. You asked Prithvi. I really thank you. You asked this, and this is for mains point of view. India with what do you say, Persian Gulf countries. So you are talking about Iran, or else our discussion was India and Iran, and then China was there, US was there. So how we will focus this is the importance of India's role in Persian Gulf countries and West Asian countries post COVID-19 pandemic situation. Discuss. Please do understand this is very good, and then I thank you, Prithvi, very much. And Rahul says China has direct access to Central Asian countries. Then why it is needed to invest in China, invest in Iran? Okay, invest in Iran. So definitely, see, one thing is very clear. I've explained you, Rahul, because Iran is in regards to the oil rich. It is one part of oil rich country. Iran is oil rich country. So definitely China, as I said, China will have for 25 years the oil trade discounted oil trade. So that is what is very important. So because of 25 years discounted oil trade, China is investing in Iran. Especially we looked at banking and then railways, infrastructure development, roads and all that. So definitely it is win-win situation for Iran and China at this moment. I say, at this moment. I think Rahul, you got the point. So for geography map based, Strait of Hormuz, Gulf of Oman, Arabian Sea, Chabahar Port, Farzad B gas exploration. These are very important. And please do take this question for the day, that is the importance of India's role or the emergence of India's role in Persian Gulf countries and West Asian countries post COVID-19 pandemic situation. Discuss. And Anil has joined. Good morning, sir. Please give a couple of mains question daily at the end of the video. Yeah, this is one. You can take this. The importance of India's role in Persian Gulf countries and West Asian countries post COVID-19 pandemic situations. Discuss. This you can take it. Anil, please do take it. For the benefit of the students itself, I framed this. And in regards to the another news which you have, OPEC and allies to ease cuts. So OPEC is the, what is OPEC? This is also very important for prelims point of view. OPEC is Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. So petrol. So they are rich in oil. All these countries are rich in oil. So what did these countries come ahead? So they have agreed, OPEC has agreed to allow more oil to flow. More oil to flow. That means what? Production to increase. Production of oil, crude oil to increase. Why? Because from the month of March. Why March? Because of the COVID-19 pandemic situation. What has happened? The global supply chain system has been badly hit. Please do understand this. In the March, since March or February, March itself, what has happened is because of the COVID-19 pandemic situation, the global supply chain system, this is a keyword, please do understand, this is a keyword. Global supply chain system has been badly hit. When it has been badly hit, what has happened is it has impacted directly onto the crude oil. What crude oil? Demand of crude oil. So demand of crude oil has reduced across the countries, across the globe, because of the global supply chain system which has been badly hit. Because of that, the demand of crude oil has been badly come down. So when it has come down, what happened is the price of crude oil has also come down. So the price and the demand, please do understand, here it is demand and supply. So when I'm saying price, it is supply. So when the supply is high and the demand is low, when the supply is high and the demand is low. Why is demand low? Because of the COVID-19 pandemic situation. What happened because of the COVID-19 pandemic situation? That is, the global supply chain has been badly hit. When it has been badly hit, the demand was low and the supply was high. So what is supply? The production. What if the supply is high? What will happen? The prices will fall down. Prices will fall down, and definitely the prices of the crude oil prices in the international markets have come down, so what, in the month of March, what they have decided is, the OPEC countries, that they will go ahead with cut in oil production. That means they will reduce or they will stop the oil production, because what happened, the supply will become balanced, because there is no demand, there is high supply, so they have to go ahead with cut in the sense reducing the oil production, crude oil production, so they have to reduce. So what they have decided is, in the month of March, they decided to cut or reduce the oil production, crude oil production. Fine. But I'm giving you additional explanation here. But what has happened is, the OPEC countries in the month of March, because of the COVID-19 pandemic situation, what I said in regards to the demand and supply, they have agreed that they will go ahead with stopping, or they will stop or reduce the oil production, to make sure that the demand and supply is balanced. Why? Because the prices should be stabilized. There should be enough of price which will not create a problem to the OPEC countries, that is oil producing countries. But it was Saudi Arabia and Russia. I am giving additional information. Please do understand. In the month of March, this is all background. I am giving additional information. So Saudi Arabia and Russia, they have said that we will not cut the oil production. Please do understand. It was Saudi Arabia and Russia in the month of March, when the OPEC countries have decided to cut the oil production, but the Saudi Arabia and Russia have said that we will not cut the oil production, and then both the countries have continued the oil production. That is, supply was going on more. So what has happened is, because of that, the prices have come down very drastically, very badly. The prices have come down badly. So what they have decided again is, US has interfered. Then US has interfered, and then it has asked Saudi Arabia to talk to Russia, and both Saudi Arabia and Russia should, what you say, stop the excess production. So definitely Saudi Arabia and Russia have come together, because US wanted Saudi Arabia to talk to Russia, and both the countries, now they stop the excess production, so that the prices will stabilize. So this is the entire, what you say, background for what we are talking today. So now the OPEC countries have discussed or agreed. Now the OPEC, that is in the month of July. Please do understand, from March to July. Now they have decided that July they will go for more oil flow. That means slowly they will increase the production. Why? Because there is increase in demand now. Please do understand. This is the entire logic. And then OPEC countries has how many? 13 member states now. OPEC has 13 member countries, and which is dominated by Saudi Arabia. Please do understand this all. OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, have 13 member states, and it is dominated by Saudi Arabia. You have something called as OPEC. You have something called as OPEC Plus or OPEC Plus group. Please do understand. This is very important for prelims and mains analytical or application and conceptual point of OPEC countries, OPEC group. Fine. You have OPEC plus groups. So OPEC is dominated by Saudi Arabia. OPEC plus is almost dominated by Russia. Fine. And now the OPEC countries have decided that they will go ahead with oil producing. So OPEC countries have decided that they will increase the oil production. But the oil producing nations, other nations, not OPEC, OPEC minus. It is oil producing nations who are not part of OPEC. Please to understand, who are not part of OPEC, they decided they will cut production. They will cut production, which is 10% of global supply. Fine. And what is important is that we need to understand the Saudi Arabia and Russia. Here, what is important is OPEC, as I said, OPEC plus Saudi Arabia, Russia, and then US. You need to understand how they have their impact on the OPEC countries or oil producing nations. Now we will look at for exclusively for Prem's point of view about OPEC. So you need to know what is OPEC. So OPEC was created in the month of September 1960 at Baghdad Conference. This is very important. Baghdad Conference, it was created. OPEC, organizations of petroleum exporting countries, were created at Baghdad Conference. Which conference? There would be a question that during which among the following conferences the OPEC was created in September 1960 with 5 countries, that is Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. So these are the oil-rich countries when they have come in the year 1960 at the Baghdad Conference, and later on they have added, what do you say, another 5 plus, what do you say, another 6 countries, no, another 6 countries, yes, and then they have come up to 11 countries in the year 2019. So in 1960 it was 5 countries OPEC, and then 2019 it was 11 countries. This is just for information sake. Fine. And then you have the headquarters at Geneva. Where is Geneva? Switzerland, which is in Europe. Fine. And then initially for the first 5 years, that means from 1960 to 1965, the headquarters was at Geneva. But again in 1965, after 1965, the headquarters was shifted from Geneva to Vienna. Vienna is in Austria, which is again part of Europe, country in Europe. Fine. So this is very important. And the other news, what is also important is in the year 2019 on Jan 1st, Qatar was terminated from the OPEC countries and Indonesia was suspended in 2019. And then it has become, after, what do you say, suspension of all this, the organization consists of 14 states. This is very important. And the objective is to have the stable prices for all the petroleum producers. So all the oil producing nations, they should have the proper price, so that oil producing nations economy, why? Because oil producing nations economy is dependent on the crude oil. Their economy is dependent on crude oil, and once the prices of the crude oil in the international market reduces, so their economy will also be shattered. So thereby the OPEC's objective is to have a fair and stable prices for the entire oil producing or petroleum producers or the nation itself, and that is the main. Along with that, to have efficient, economic, and regular supply of petroleum to all other consumer nations. The nations which are consuming, they have to provide efficient, economic, and regular supply. So this is the objective of the OPEC, and this is very important for the prelims point of view. This is the additional information. This is not in the newspaper. This is additional information which I am giving for you for the prelims point of view. And then there is another news which talks about, now we have seen China investing in Iran. Now China investing in Pakistan. So definitely we know China investing in Pakistan is not a new one, because CPEC is there. What is CPEC? China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Not only that, now China is also investing in Pakistan in regards to the construction of a dam in POK, that is Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Please do understand, China is investing in Pakistan not only in regards to CPC, that is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which I've shown you yesterday also, from Kashgar province to Gwadar port, Gwadar, Gwadar, Gwadar port in Pakistan. So from Kashgar to Gwadar port, this is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which also passes through POK, Pakistan Occupied Kashmir, that is from Gilgit and Baltistan, from the area called as Gilgit and Baltistan. And now also this Pakistan, which is going ahead with the construction of the dam in POK, is being funded by China. And what is the dam? That is, the dam is Daimar Basha Dam. This is very important for prelims point of view. Daimar Basha Dam, which is in Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and India is definitely raising the objection. Why? Because as India says, POK is an integral part of India. Integral part of India. So when we are talking about POK itself is integral part of India, this Daimar Basha Dam, which has been being constructed by Pakistan, this is also in Gilgit and Baltistan. Gilgit, Gilgit, Baltistan, Baltistan. So the Gilgit and Baltistan, which is part of POK, India is raising the objection because it is China-backed mega project. China-backed mega project. This is very, very important. Do not say China's funding or China's aid. You have to use this keyword. China-backed mega project is Daimar Basha Dam in Pakistan occupied Kashmir, which is passing through Gilgit and Baltistan. And this Daimar Basha Dam, which is in Pakistan, will be the third largest dam after Karbela and Mangla. So Mangla is the first largest dam, second is Karbela, and now this Daimar Basha Dam will be the third largest dam. So this is again very important for prelims point of view. Arrange the following dams in Pakistan, which are the largest dams. Arrange the following dams in regards to the largest dams in Pakistan. That is, first is Mangla, second is Karbela, and the third one will be now Daimar Basha once it is completed. And once it is completed, it will generate 4,500 megawatt of electricity. And look at it, how China is trying to woo the Pakistan by investing, because now here Pakistan will also be benefited. Why? As Pakistan is also short of electricity. It is shortage. It is reeling under shortage of electricity, power. So definitely now Pakistan will also be benefited. So definitely it is in regards to the electricity. Electricity will be generated. So thereby Pakistan is readily accepting the Chinese investment along with the CPEC, that is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Along with that, China is also investing now in the dam construction, which will generate 4,500 megawatt of electricity. Not only that, it will also create 16,000 jobs, and it will be completed by 2028. This dam will be completed by 2028. That is a target, and it will generate 4,000 megawatt of electricity and create 16,000 jobs. 16,000 jobs because of this China-backed mega project, that is Daimar Basha project. So if you look at this image, this is the Daimar Basha project. And what Pakistan, or else the Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan says is, this is not a new one, but it is from 50 years, almost 40 to 50 years. Since then, they are discussing or they are thinking about the Daimar Basha Dam. So this is the Daimar Basha Dam construction site. And if you look at, so look at this. This is the area. And this falls, if you look at this, this is again POK region. This is POK region, which is passing through, as I said, Gilgit and Baltistan. Gilgit and Baltistan. So definitely it is just bordering, what do you say, POK and then Pakistan. POK and Pakistan, but falling under what is it in the Gilgit and Baltistan area. And then again, the place is from geography map based. It is Nanga Parbat, fine. And then another dam you have Mohammed Dam site. Here you have another dam. So fine. So it is very close to Islamabad, and it is which river? Indus River. Indus River. And this is the contract is 442 billion US dollars signed between India and Pakistan. Extremely sorry. Extremely sorry. I'm extremely sorry. Between Pakistan and China. Between China and Pakistan. Between China and Pakistan. This is the project, that is Daimar Basha Dam project, which is China backed mega project. China backed mega project is Daimar Basha Dam between China and Pakistan, and it has the contract is 442 billion US dollars, and it is a joint venture. Please do understand all this. It is a joint venture, but that is between China and Pakistan. So this joint venture is between whom? Between the Frontier Works Organization, that is Frontier Work Organization from Pakistan side, fine, plus the China Power. The company which is from China is China Power. So between it is a joint venture between China Power and Frontier Works Organization. And what in this joint venture, the Pakistan or else Frontier Works Organization will have 70%, sorry, 30 percentage, and then China will have the 70 percentage of investment. And then it is been approved by whom? Approved by China. That is, when we are talking about China, it is approved by CCI. What is CCI? Council of Common Interest. Council of Common Interest. So definitely they are going ahead with Pakistan has gone ahead with having a joint venture, and it has been approved by Council of Common Interest. And you have another news which talks about the China's economy rebounds. Who is saying this? International Monetary Fund. IMF is saying this. And I have told you in the last class also, whatever the reports are in regards to the IMF, WB, Asian Development Bank, yesterday, I mean day before yesterday I was talking about, and then Fitch rating or any other Moody's, all these you need to keep a track of how the economy of the India, China or Asian countries or global economy is actually changing. So you need to keep a track of it. And as per IMF, we have seen that China is now bouncing back. It is bouncing back in regards to its economy, bouncing back of its economy, bouncing back its economy in the quarter two, second quarter of the financial year. Second quarter of the financial year, it has bounced back, and it has bounced back to 3.2 percentage of the GDP. How much percentage of GDP it has been bounced back in the quarter two? Quarter two, it is 3.2 percentage. But what the Reuters in the sense, the international media has said that it will bounce back only 2.5 percentage. But look at it, the National Bureau of Statistics in China has said that it has rose to 3.2 percentage of its GDP, China's GDP in quarter two. And definitely the growth has been increased, it has been moved back, or it has been definitely it has been increased. But what is the other challenges we have is the Asian share markets and Chinese yuan in the sense it's rupee or its currency, not rupee. China's currency is yuan, or we can, it is also renminbi. Renminbi, RENMINBI, yuan or renminbi, its currency is called as. And you have this challenges to the Chinese economy. You have, even though it is growing, even though in the quarter two it has expanded, China's economy has expanded in quarter two, but still it has challenges. What are the challenges? The tensions with United States. Why? Because of the trade, technology, and geopolitics. And whatever the China is now investing in Pakistan or Iran is because of the geopolitics, because of the outcome or the consequences or the repercussions of the geopolitics or the tensions which are between China and US. Please do understand. China and US. Even the kind of China having the issue with India along the LAC is also part of the geopolitics. Is also part of the geopolitics. So we are looking at not just the economy is expanding, but there are challenges. So now we will look at what are the challenges. So definitely it is a rising tensions between what do you say with the US. That is first one is in regards to the demographic changes, fine, and over investment, low industrial productivity, and the fourth one is high debt level. So I'll explain you each one. Demographic changes. So if you look at the demographic changes, it is in regards to India LAC, in Southeast Asian countries or South China Sea, in India and China along the LAC, in the South China Sea, and with Hong Kong and with Taiwan. So look at, you have these demographic changes, and these changes are the challenges for the China's economy to increase or to what do you say boost or to expand. Challenges, please do understand. Demographic changes, we have looked at it. And then over investments. Yes, definitely investments, as I said, like Pakistan, it is investing, fine, and also now Iran, fine, and also in Europe. Or you can look at this as what do you say CPEC, China Pakistan Economic Corridor, and then One Belt One Road, OBOR, and then string of pearls. So all these are over investments which China is doing, and that is also a challenge. Please do understand. And low industrial productivity. So the low industrial productivity because of the pandemic situation, even though it is rising, but it is a challenge, that low industrial productivity in China. And then the other one is, the fourth one is the high debt level. So definitely, as it is going ahead with the over investments in other countries, for example CPEC, OBR, string of pearls, and then port constructions in various countries, and then in regards to the Europe, all this is making them high debt in the sense what you are not having money, low income, your income has come down or your revenue has come down, your money expenditure is high. That means expenditure is very high. And then definitely all these are there. And along with that, what is important is the other challenge here is the consumer. Why consumer is the challenge? 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the fifth one. Why consumer is the challenge? Because at this situation, that is the COVID-19 pandemic situation, the consumer is very cautious. Cautious in the sense, he is very carefully identifying the situation, whether he has to or how much he has to go ahead with expenditure, how much he has to buy in the market, what are his needs. So the consumer is also challenged because the consumer plays a bigger role. Now the consumer is playing a bigger role in the market, and especially that is impacting China and US, because both the countries are definitely, in regards to their economy, is dependent on the consumer, because the consumer plays a bigger role in the economy of China and also economy of US. Not only that, the sixth one is job losses. Job losses are the challenges. So job losses, because why? Because there are worries for the consumers. So what are the challenges? First one is in regards to the demographic changes, over investments, lower industrial productivity, And then high debt in the sense like you have loans, expenditure is high, fine. And the fifth one is consumer is also a challenge. And then the unemployment is also a challenge. So please do understand this. These are all conceptual application in regards to the US and then China rising tension. So this is the background I'm giving all this, fine. So look at this. You have taken this image. You can look at, you have lot of, you have this trade, and then in regards to the trade, and also like now it is a warlike situation. All the missiles, you can see these missiles ready, warships ready from both the sides. Warships are ready, fine. Aircraft carriers are ready. So there is a, definitely there is a rising tension between US and China. And the measures are that the government, that is the China government, has to, and it is definitely going ahead with measures, what measures it has to do because of the challenges and to expand the economy is fiscal spending boost. I will explain you. And then tax relief, and then cuts in lending rates, and then reserve requirements. So these are the measures. So fiscal spending boost. What is the fiscal? That is, the government has to spend. So government expenditure has to be high so that there is more money, there is more liquidity in the market. There is more liquidity in the market. That is what it says. The fiscal spending boost. That means the government has to go ahead with more of expenditure, or there has to be more of liquidity with the banks or with the people. And then tax relief. Yes, the government has to make sure that the tax, the kind of tax rules and regulations have to be, has to have some relief for the Chinese taxpayers. And then cuts in lending rates. Why cut in lending rates? Because if the interest rates are low, then the people will start, what do you say, taking loans. Once they start taking loans, there will be more of liquidity. So boosting fiscal spending, boosting, and then cut in lending rates go together, both together, they are in together, they both go together, so that there is more of liquidity in the market. And then the reserve requirement. So definitely there has to be a reserve, that is the revenue reserve should be, so that the, as I said in the challenge, high debt level, that means you are not having money revenue, so that condition should not be. And then IMF forecast is, it has said that China has expanded 1% for the entire year, and it is the only China is the only major economy which is growing, or which will grow in 2020. China is the only country, or China's economy is the only economy in the world which will grow in 2020. And all other, or the global economy, the rest of the China, that is the global economy, will definitely grow in 2021. But IMF is predicting or forecasting that China is the one which will expand its economy, and it is the only major economy in the world which will expand its economy in 2020, and the rest will expand its economy in 2021. And $1 is equal to 6.9959 or 7 Chinese currency yuan or renminbi, yuan or renminbi, renminbi, renminbi. So this is very, very important in regards to the economy point, and then in regards to IMF, and then in regards to the global economy, China's economy, and then how it is actually having challenges, So definitely now when you look at, have focused on the SNT, that is coronavirus, here have focused on all the keywords. Please do understand all the keywords, fine. which is will be very important. Sai Kumar has just joined. Very good morning, Sai Kumar, and just concluding it. So all these are the keywords. Please do understand for the prelims point of view. And then here again, in regards to the government's response, that is Ministry of External Affairs from India has given the response for the Iran in regards to Chabahar Zaidan railway project, and also in regards to the Farzad B field project. Again, here I am very focusing on the geography map based questions, and I have given here a mains point of question, that is the importance of India's role in the Persian Gulf countries and West Asian countries post COVID-19 pandemic situation. Post COVID-19 pandemic situation. Please do understand. Please do take this note of this question and then try to write answer for this. Try to write answer for this for the mains point of view. And then in regards to the OPEC countries, Hindu is almost enough, and then you can, what you say, go ahead with any kind of magazine. You can refer one magazine, Harika. You can refer one magazine, monthly magazine. You can refer one, any magazine which you are comfortable. And then this is again for prelims point of view about OPEC, that is Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, which is very important for prelims. And then China investing in Pakistan, that is China backed mega project. Again here I have shown you this, which is again very important for prelims point of view. Again, this is in regards to the economy or global economy of you can say China, or comparing with the global economy, China or global economy. And then we have looked at the challenges, measures, and then what the IMF forecast for the China's expand of its economy. So definitely I hope this was a very informative, knowledgeable session. And then I would say a very big thank you for you all. And today I have changed once again, Lokesh. Thank you very much. I repeat this because of your what do you say statement. I've been doing this. Good luck and do your best. Good luck and do your best. And then before you sign off, move out of the YouTube, please do like the video, share the video, subscribe the video, and also visit aksis.com, and the Telegram link for aksis.is is t.me/aksis, and my Telegram link, this is my personal Telegram link, that is t.me/Sandeep Bhushan SBT, t.me/Sandeep Bhushan SBT. Here capital letter S, capital letter B, and SBT is capital. Fine. And then see you tomorrow again at 7:30 a.m. and I would say do maintain consistency, stick to your schedule. Fine. Take care of your personal health and mental health. Personal health and then mental health. See you tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. and then good luck and do your best. You will definitely succeed. You will definitely succeed. And I would say a very big thank you to everyone. Thank you all. Thank you all, everyone. Thank you all.